He looked at me and he's like, oh yeah, you got a pretty face, great smile, bit overweight.
Is that what you said?
Yeah. I'd been singing for and behind so many massive names, artists like worldwide. And it never really clicked with me that they were just a product.
You want to be an artist, you have to understand that the difference between you being a creative and you being a creative entrepreneur or creative business person is two different things.
The gigs, it was the fun, the high life, the buzz of it. I didn't look at myself as a woman of business. I just saw myself as, okay, what's the next gig? I've been singing for years. Then I got into the industry, and it's after being in there for so many years, then it clicked. I am a product. Every 3 weeks, I'd get this chunk of money in my account, and I was on tour for like 6 weeks. And by the end of the tour, I was like, is this real?
Thank you in advance for listening, because it means that my confidence grows. Thank you for subscribing, because it means that I get to share more. And thank you for commenting, because it means that I get to listen to you. And thank you in advance for sharing, because that's confirmation that we inspired you to inspire others. I pray that you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed creating it. This is the Promisingpreneur podcast. I am Aahliyah Amerat, and here I speak to creative entrepreneurs on their journey to 100,000 and what it really takes for them to become the entrepreneurs that they are today. Now, I am here with one of legitimately my best friends, my sisters, and a massive, massive creative, an extreme talent that has performed like in front of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people on the biggest stages. And I'm just ultimately proud of her because I know a lot of her story, and I really, really need to share that with you today. So I'm here with Phebe Edwards,
Hi.
a singer-songwriter.
Yes.
And a vocal coach, an absolute phenomenon, a beauty through and through.
Thanks, babes.
I just need to, I want you to tell me who you are in your words, because I'm never going to be able to do it as much justice as I want to.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, to be honest. Phebe Edwards, backing vocalist, independent artist, vocal coach, auntie, mother to some, friend to many, sister to many. Yeah, I am she.
She, the queen?
I'm a queen.
Yes, honey.
And it's quite interesting because I wouldn't be able to say that with my chest a couple of years ago, but I can actually sit here and look at you and say, yeah, I'm a queen.
Do you know what? We just went right into it.
Yeah.
Tell me why. Why a few years ago was you not able to, with your chest, say, I am a queen?
A few years ago, I wasn't the person that I am now. You might have seen me smiling, you might have seen me bubbly, everyone sees Phebe walk into a room and it's, oh my gosh, hi, the life and soul of the party. But deep down, I was a very nervous, intimidated, abused, broken soul. And it took years and years of therapy and work to actually find the queen that I am now and realise that she's been there all along. And why did this queen forget the lioness? Why did she forget what she had? Why did she forget who she was and who she has always been? Because at some point I allowed myself to become more of a people pleaser than a Phebe pleaser. So that's a tiny summary of it as to why I was in that space a few years ago. But we can get deeper if you want. I mean,
well, yeah, we're going to get a bit deeper because just for a little bit of context, I want to ask you, where is it that you've come from? What's your background? Just for our viewers to understand a little bit of context about who you are, and Yeah.
So I come from a very big family, and a family of singers. Not only just a family of singers or musical family, but a church family. And you hear the dip in my voice when I say a church family. Because my experience of church was not always what it should have been. And my dad's a bishop, my mum's a mother of the church, a pastor, and I was brought up in a very, very strict background. Church was life. You went to church Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And it was a lot of the background was, it was driven into you to make sure you live for God and God only, which is fine, but it was more about how it was done. It was through fear. So that's where my story of people pleasing started, I believe. So my singing background was, you know, you sing for the church, you stay in the church, you know, you serve, you know, and if someone says jump, you're like, how high, you know. And that soon bled into my music career when I tried to kind of break away from the church, not because I didn't like church or I didn't believe in God, but because I was taught that when you have a gift, the only place you ever use it is in the church. And if you don't, you're going to hell. That's the summary. Anything you didn't do that was to do with church or God, if it was ever slightly out of what you'd been taught with the doctrines, you're going to go to hell, you're going to burn forever. My thought process from a child, I was born in it, so all I ever knew was church and gospel singing, gospel music. And let me tell you something, I love gospel music. I love gospel songs. I love the way that gospel music makes me feel and can make others feel. I will never, ever, ever dislike it. It's something that is, even now when I'm listening to songs, gospel songs, they come on Spotify, on shuffle, or even the radio, there's something that it does to my body. Unfortunately, my personal experience of understanding gospel music with church was tainted by the cultural beliefs that were kind of twisted up with it, to make it make sense for those that were leading the church. That's the best way I could put it. So my background was there, church, and then I soon started to sing at weddings and birthdays, and eventually started to sing on tours and sing for different artists. And of course the church didn't like it, so it became a bit of a thing. It became a bit of a, oh, pastor's daughter's singing in the world. We have lost her soul. But little did they know that my soul was always there. It was always there. There's so much in it, in my past, that I had to unlearn, as I say, with therapy. And there's a saying that I have, take the meat from the bone. I had to take the bits that were right for me, that I still felt were necessary for me and my growth, and discard the things that I knew didn't sit quite well with me from my upbringing and my church background. So I'll forever be grateful for the talent that I had from church and that was nurtured through gospel music. And I will always pay ode to that in my music and the way I deliver a song. But there are other things that I will kindly disregard because it's not necessarily what it actually is.
You know, it's funny that, I mean, you asking if you can drink your tea? I mean, you're an absolute joker. Basically, I just wanted to comment before I ask the next question, the fact that a lot of religion is now tainted by culture. And the purest form of religion and abiding by the book, right? The Bible, the Quran, the Torah, whatever it may be, has been so tainted by people's opinions of how, like people's interpretations, essentially, right? So yeah, I've had my my fair share of understanding what that's like as well. So, I think what's amazing is the fact that you've been able to identify that some of the issues that you have today as a fully fledged adult has come from your childhood, because a lot of the things that we go through is from childhood, right? So in that process, when you was kind of like I want to sing in the world, right? I want to sing in the world because there may be some people, some viewers and listeners that are feeling that feeling. They want to be able to sing in the world, but then they're scared of the stigma that that may come from their family, or the like being shone upon, essentially, right? So what was the thing that allowed you or gave you the courage to go out into the world and sing and kind of be like, do you know what? I love my parents. I love the church. However, this is what I want to do for my life.
So, my parents are Jamaican, and when I was going to school, my mum chose all my lessons for me. She was like all my GCSEs. You know, when you go through that stage, she was like, "You're going to be an accountant."
Yep, nice.
So I left school and I went straight into doing accounts, and she was like, you're gonna do anything to do with maths, and you know, you're gonna, which I understand to some extent. It may have been that, you know, the privilege that she had that I have to do certain things in London or in England, she didn't have when she was growing up. So she wanted to give me that opportunity. However, it wasn't what I wanted to do. I always wanted to do art and music. And I remember working in an accounts office. When I left school, I went straight into, was it MVQ? And I went straight into working hands-on accounts and studying at the same time. And I remember after like the third job in accounts, I would sing on the weekends, I would sing in the evenings, I'd do little gigs here and there, and every time I did a gig or sang somewhere or did an event, it just felt so right. It felt like I belonged there. And I remember one day I was working for an advertising company in their accounts department, and something just switched. I remember sitting at the desk and inputting details and numbers and making phone calls to clients and, you know, invoices and I just remember putting the phone down one day. It was a really nice company in Carnaby Street. It was really nice, you know, spending off my money every week. And I just remember putting the phone down and thinking, I don't want to do this. I didn't have a gig to go to. I didn't have anything set up. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I just knew I couldn't keep sitting in this office. And I handed in my notice that week. And I think it was just something, I think it was a bit of a rebellion that came over me. Like, okay, I know I'm not happy. And if I'm going to leave this job and if it's going to upset my friends or my family, or mainly my family or my parents, I'll deal with the consequences, because I'm not happy. So there must be more to life. There must be more to me for what I know I can give. I gave my notice, and I remember telling my mum, and she was very disgraced. She wasn't happy. And I didn't have a gig to go to. And then not long after that, I got called to do... So I gave him my notice. And then, you know, you have to work a certain amount of time before you can leave. Within that time, someone asked me if I want to audition for Shane Ward. Now, I had been doing little gigs here and there, like, you know, birthdays, you know, weddings, functions on weekends, but a tour? Someone asked me if I want to audition as his only backing singer for a tour. I was like, okay. I made a few excuses because I was a bit nervous. I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know. Because obviously it's like it's happening too fast now. So like, for me, it's like, this is the way the universe works. Once you take the step and you have faith, something comes to you. And I didn't realize that's what was happening there at that time. But now looking back at it, I'm like, oh, I took a step, I took the plunge, and something came to me. So within that, I think, month period, is it okay? Oh. So within that month period, this audition came up, and I remember I was still working. So I was like, oh, I'm finishing work and I need to see if work can accommodate me leaving to do this audition. And the person was like, come after work. He'll be there till late. And I went down to Hackney Promisingpreneur Studios, and there were so many girls outside auditioning. And I was in my work suit, and just after a long day in the office, and I was like, I'm not going to get it, whatever. I went in reluctant, like not really positive, but it's like I had my foot in but halfway out. And I just remember getting to the audition. I sang, I think it was Breathless, Shane Ward's Breathless song.
I used to love that song.
Yeah, you leave me breathless. And and my voice broke in the audition. And I remember like being stunned by the fact that my voice broke, but then I carried on. I was like, well, you ain't got it anyway. There's loads of girls outside, and, you know, there's been so many girls all day. You ain't got it. And I think I was the last audition of the day. I'd carried on singing, just went through the motions, but still gave what I can give, gave Phebe. And this also goes, well, I'll say that in a minute, but I gave Phebe, but with the kind of mindset of, I'm not sure if I'm going to get it. And by the time I carried on singing, finished, did a bit of a duet with him, finished, went back to my car. By the time I got back to my car and I put my hands on the handle, I got a phone call saying, Shane wants you on the tour. I was like, I was a bit confused.
I love that.
Because I also wasn't sure if it was a mistake, because it just seemed so surreal. But also because I was a little bit half in and half out, I was like, is this real? Is this? And that was my first official tour ever as the only backing singer for Shane Ward. And from there, my career just grew and grew. But I had to take that plunge. Although it was a little bit hesitant, I took that first plunge. And from there, my career just kept growing and growing. That was a big lesson for me. And as I'm speaking to you about it now, I'm realising that I didn't know the power that I had then. So this, again, is the lioness, or, you know, the queen. She didn't know she had it all this time. Mm-hmm. But as I look back at it now and I understand my journey more, like, she was there all the time. She was there all the time. And that was the power of manifestation. That was the power of, you know, taking a step, not knowing what the outcome's going to be, handing in my notice, not having a job. But I actually ended up handing in my notice and then walking straight into being on tour. And it's never stopped since then.
And that was how many years ago?
Oh, that was, 2008? 2008, yeah.
Long time.
It's a long time.
And that courage is a testimony of you.
It really is.
Like, that courage, and that's something that we always talk about, that first step. That's something that comes up in our conversations quite a lot. Not knowing, because I do the same thing, not knowing what's going to come around the corner, not knowing what's going to come next, but just doing it anyway.
However, sometimes you take these steps and you think that you're taking steps with courage, but actually you're taking steps towards your detriment. Mm-hmm. So there's a very thin line of taking a step, not knowing what's coming around the corner, because you want to do something positive, but sometimes we take steps because we're actually scared of not taking a step. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you basically take a step in the direction that your heart is actually, in the opposite direction of what your heart is actually saying.
No.
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 What do you mean?
I mean, sometimes we take a step. We can mix courage for fear.
Uh-huh.
So I thought that by taking steps towards my career, you know, just go for it. You never know what will happen. There was a very thin line of me taking a step into my marriage. Go for it. You might be able to fix it.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's
Okay.
exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
So you're taking this step. Your heart, right? Your heart tells you one thing, but instead of, like, as in your heart is like, I'm gonna take this step. So I'm gonna use marriage as an example. Yeah, I'm gonna take this step into marriage because maybe I can fix it. But originally, your gut was always telling you that wasn't the right step.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I fully understand. I fully get what you're saying. Like you take the step into something that's your detriment, but that's because you're not actually going with what your gut's saying or your heart's saying or your mind's saying. You're actually going towards this false hope.
A false hope. Which leads us very nicely into being able to use now my journey of what I had. My journey of what I'd been through as a child in terms of being a people pleaser. And then leading me into you took the plunge with your career. So everything that comes to you, got to take the plunge with and not actually using wisdom, you know, what I was just saying. And it's really funny, you just said something about hope, taking a step with hope. Into false hope. There's a lyric that I actually wrote on my new album, there's a song called Waste of Love. And I took that vow, although my heart cried out, not now, became a prisoner of hope that never was. And that for me summed up literally what we're talking about. I took a step into something knowing it wasn't right, but hoping that it would fix it. But then even with that situation, I'm able to see again now all these things. I'm able to see now, look back at them and realize the strength and courage it took to do some of those things, even though some of them were not the right decision. And I'm talking music, I'm talking friendships, I'm talking relationships. I made some bad decisions for the sake of what will people think of me. Why? Because my childhood was, go and do this because people will see. Go and do this because you will be blessed. Go and do this because it will make the church look better. Do you know what I mean? So I took that with me throughout my life to now, to an extent, because I'm not like that much anymore. And I say much for a reason, but I'm not like that much anymore. And I realize when I look back now, I can see the pattern and what it was, and that I wasn't seeing my own power. So I thought by giving everyone else power or attention or more of me, that meant that I would get back what I thought I deserved. That's not always the case.
Because that was your conditioning. Your conditioning was give, and you shall receive.
And you shall receive, because biblically, that's what you hear. Give and it will come back to you. Not all the time.
So you started singing for Shane Ward and went on the first tour. How much did you get for that tour? Do you remember?
Oh my days. Ooh, what, money?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
Was it more than your accounting job or less?
It was more than my accounting job in a short space of time. So I remember, like, I remember just having, every 3 weeks, I'd get this chunk of money in my account, and I was on tour for like 6 weeks. And by the end of the tour, I was like, is this real? Like, I've just earned maybe half the year or more than half a year's worth of wages in 6 weeks. Huh? Yeah.
That was the taste of the high life.
It was the taste of the high life. And trust me, it feels nice. It feels nice at the time.
So that feeling of working a minute amount of time in comparison to working your full 12 months, 9 to 5, and you earning that amount, what did that do for you? Like, how was your mindset then towards, like, if you look back, right? Since then, have you ever gone into another job?
Oh, no. I've never gone back to work.
So you was because like, this is it.
Yeah, I realised that I could work for myself, and there was more to me than sitting behind a desk working for someone else. I never stepped foot back into a 9 to 5 at all.
So how do you sustain yourself? All these years, how did you continuously get gigs? Like, did you have a manager or?
So a lot of my work was based on my talent and word of mouth. I could have had agencies, I could have had managers, but I didn't. And it's really weird. As I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, raw. I didn't actually have anyone representing me, looking for work for me. It came to me. And a lot of the time it was, so I remember from Shane Ward, someone saw me sing with him, and then they were like, have you heard of Jessie J? Oh yeah, she's dope. She's dope. She's a really good singer. Yeah, she's looking for a singer. It's like things just came to me. Oh, let me get your details. Managers of artists or music managers, music directors. Can I have your email address? You know, and before I knew it, there was like a little collection of people where my name started to go around, like, oh, try this backing vocalist. She's good, or whatever. And I ended up and it's so weird. I'm sitting here, and the reason why I'm like stammering is because I've never seen it like that. I've never had anyone look for work for me in all these years, and I've never stepped my foot back into a job, a 9 to 5.
So, question: do you see yourself as an entrepreneur or somebody in business?
Now I do. I didn't before, because I got so caught up in going through the motions of being just getting on with it, just like, I'm going on this, I didn't see myself. That's why I think I'm looking at him like, hold on a second, because it became so natural to me to just keep going and just do what I'm doing and just enjoy singing. And I wouldn't say chase the money, but just like the gigs, it was the fun, the high life, the buzz of it. I didn't look at myself as a woman of business. I just saw myself as, okay, what's the next gig? Oh, I enjoy singing. I'm a backing vocalist. It's as within the last few years, I'd say at least 6 years, I started to see myself as a brand, and I started to see myself more as the face of my type of singing, the face of Phebe Edwards. I don't know if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I saw myself as the front person. Before that, I realised that I was very heavily still, although I was working for myself, I still was behind a lot of other brands, not realising that I was my own brand.
What made you realise that you was your own brand?
When I wanted to start releasing my own music, I don't think I realised what that took now, as in nowadays. So I'd always known of back in the day, you know, when artists want to release music, etc., a lot of the time they were scouted. But it was when I went to do have a meeting at Universal about a song that I wanted to release, and I remember the A&R guy looking at me like I was a product. That's when the switch flipped. He looked at me and he's like, "Oh yeah, you got a pretty face, great smile, bit overweight."
Is that what you said?
Yeah, bit overweight. Yeah, let's see what your social media's like. And that was my moment of, I am a product, I am a brand. And then I realised, it's weird because I'd been singing for and behind so many massive names, artists, like worldwide. And it never really clicked with me that they were just a product, you know, not just, but that's how they were looked at, you know, that's how they were seen. Yeah. And it's when I started to try and do my own thing, not try to do my own thing. Hello. I realised that I am a business. And although I enjoy singing and although I enjoy writing and performing, there's another side that comes along with it. And you have to then know how to sell yourself and represent yourself as your own business.
See that there?
That there.
That there.
I need to drink to that.
Drink to that, honey. Because that is vital information that singers, rappers, musicians need to understand. That realization that happened for you after years of singing.
And I wasn't just singing, I was singing in church before anyway. I'd been born, there's a tape of me singing at 9 months in my high chair. A tape cassette, that's old school. There's a tape of me singing, you know, as I've been singing for years. Then I got into the industry, and it's after being in there for so many years, then it clicked. I am a Coca-Cola bottle. I am a bottle of water. I am
Evian.
A phone case. I am Evian. I am a phone case. I am a product. Okay, I get it. And that's when you had to separate emotions. You had to learn to separate your emotions.
Yeah.
That I found quite hard.
Why?
I wrote a song whilst trying to do, you know, all these like meetings with these labels, and I was performing. I did like a little mini show for an A&R guy in Hackney, and in Rising Tide, I don't know if anyone remembers Rising Tide, and there was a little room set up. It was called Oceans back in the day, and there was a little room set up, and you know, it was only three guys came there to assess and look at me again as a product, so I had to do a little performance for them. And I remember there was one song I performed that it meant so much to me. You know, when you write, I wrote this song and it was exactly what I was feeling. And the producer done really well. I really enjoyed the song, really enjoyed the way that we had worked together, etc. And the A&R guy was like, yeah, it's got too many chords. You need, at the time, I think Rihanna was quite big with Umbrella. And he was like, we need a bit more simple. We need just something repetitive. You've got too much singing going on. And I was heartbroken because that song, I had worked so hard on it and I had put everything into it, and it had meaning, and it spoke about something that was dear to me at the time. They didn't care about that. And so what I had to learn to do was separate my emotions from the business. And it doesn't mean that you don't feel anything for what you've done and you're not proud of what you've done, but move on quickly. Don't get hung up on a particular song, because It might not work right now, but it might work another time, or it might never work. But you've got it, you've done it. If that emotion is what it brought out for you there and then, that's cool. Doesn't mean that, you know, not everyone needs to get it. It's not for them. And the quicker I got with that in my mind, that not everything that you create is for certain people, the more I was able to let go and just keep it moving and still appreciate what the sentiment of that song.
And that's you separating your creative to your business. Like, honestly, that's like music to my ears, because it's something that I want to be able to teach on a mass scale with the game Create a Life that I'm building. It's like understanding that you can, if you're happy, right? If you're happy to sustain yourself by working a job and just doing gigs on the side, so be it. If you desire to be an actual artist, selling out arenas, being in the limelight, whatever it is, like you want to be an artist, you have to understand that the difference between you being a creative and you being a creative entrepreneur or creative business person is two different things.
Absolutely.
And that sentiment and that those feelings and those emotions based on you creating something is valid, however, has no place, unfortunately, when it comes to building a business.
Yep.
And sustaining yourself. Because if you're just doing it for the love of it, because this is what I hear all the time. Oh, I just sing because I love singing. Okay, cool. Go sing in an arena full of 10 million people and do it for free. Not one of you's doing
Wouldn't
that.
do it.
If you're enjoying this podcast so far, this is only going to annoy you if you're a hater. Click subscribe, click follow, and drop a quick comment. And if you've done all of those already, then send me a 5-star review, because honestly, it's the only way we survive on the internet. Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
what? And that's there. That there is where you have to be even more creative, because you have to look at what's in, what do people want, what's trending, and that might not necessarily be what you give, what you have to give. So you could go and sing for free in an arena and stick to what it is that you love singing, you love performing, but you're going to stick to a certain, for me, it was like, I have a certain sound and I will stick to that. That's not what's in. The A&R guy was like, okay, cool. I have a certain look. Yeah, it's not what we want. I have a certain, like, my voice is big. Yeah, cool. We want you to tone it down. I then had to make the decision, okay, Phoebe, what do you really want? What do you really want to do? Because it's not what you think it is. It's not, I have a good voice and I'm going to go and perform and everyone's going to love my voice, and, you know, it wasn't that. And this is what I want to wear and this is how I want to look. It wasn't that. It was, this is what's required of you. Do you want to do that? Because there is a part of you, there's a part of it that means you will have to lose yourself in order to gain that type of crowd or gain that type of attention. But if you are doing it for yourself, just know that it possibly won't have the same outcome. Don't get gassed by it, because it's not always what it seems. So you need to make a decision on what you want to do. Are you going to go and lose the weight and be stick thin? Are you going to change your tone and start singing with a different twang? Are you going to change how much volume you give when you sing? Are you going to recreate yourself to fit in for what's required at the time? Or are you going to stick to what you do because you actually love what you do? Do you know what I mean? And that was a bit of a journey, because my first release, Say Something, wasn't what I wanted to release. No one knows that. I remember working with someone and I was like, you know, I wanted to put out this big song, big ballad with all these harmonies, and my voice was just singing out and going. And I remember speaking to my team at the time, and they were like, this isn't going to work right now. This doesn't fit in with what's going on. And I did something that I wish I didn't. I wish I stuck with what I wanted to do. Now, let's not get it twisted. Say Something did very well. It entered the UK R&B charts at number 12, which I think was very good for an independent artist.
Very good.
It had a really good response. Fans loved it, etc. It got some radio play. But it wasn't me. It was very... I'm a singer. I sing my heart out. I go in vocally because that's the only way. That is my expression. That's my release. But this was very toned down, and it was a very... it was a little bit of what the label asked me to do. I tried to find an in-between, and I think I let myself down. So there you go. You follow your heart or you follow your gut. I tried to be smart. And to this day, I can't say I hated it, but I will say I disappointed myself. Therefore, my latest release was what I wanted. And the response or the consequences of releasing what I want, I'm okay with. Because I realized that the emotional side of it was important to me, and I made peace with the fact that it's not for everybody. And that is something that you have to understand when you're creating, when you are creative, is that not everyone is going to like, so don't try and win everyone and win everything. Not everybody is going to like or love what you do, and it's okay. Those that it's for, it will be for, and they will stick to it. They will lap it up. But also remember that you're not doing it, whatever you do is not for other people, it's for you first. That's what I believe. I did certain songs, created this last album, my first debut album, for myself. It was for me.
Honestly, you've just, like, there's just been so many gems for actual creatives, like, that you've said, that I'm so happy you said. Like, I'm so happy that you've said. But that moves us perfectly into your debut album. You just dropped your debut album.
Yes.
By the time people are going to listen to this episode, it would have been probably about a month, maybe 2 months. A month and a bit. And I'm so proud of you for that, by the way.
Thank you.
Well done.
You know this journey.
Yes, I definitely know this journey.
Girl.
It's been a wild one. It's been the wild, wild west.
It's been the wild, wild west. The journey, okay, let's deep it. So you got the album. You've got how long it took to do the album.
Oh, God.
You've got the creative side of it where it was, put this song in, take that song out, actually change that lyric, actually change the whole song, actually scrap the whole thing, actually, the peaks and troughs. Not to mention that I've been writing this album since 2012. Yeah, since 2012. We are now in 2022. So added to that, you got it possibly being dated, according to the industry. And then you've also got what the album's about. So you can imagine the amount of, what do we even call it? What do we even call it? Like, do we say, I don't even know what to call it. I want to say emotion. That's the word that pops out. And that's, might be contradicting because of what I just said about emotions, but it is what it is. Because that is life of being a creative.
We're a ball of contradictions.
We're a ball of contradictions. It was like Pandora's Box of Love has been a journey within itself.
So the debut album's called Pandora's Box of Love.
Pandora's Box of Love.
Where did that name come from?
Okay, so let's get into it. Pandora's Box of Love. So we all know the Greek mythology story. Well, maybe we do. I assume we all know.
No.
Okay, so Pandora's Box, Greek mythology. Okay, my name's Phebe Edwards, yeah? Phoebe is a Greek name.
Oh, is that your name? Oh, I don't know.
My name's Phebe Edwards. My name's Phebe Edwards, right? My actual name is actually Aahliyah.
I know.
My real name is Aahliyah.
Alfie!
I have two, Alfie, my sister calls me Alfie. I have two Greek names. But everyone calls me Phoebe. Again, another thing that was encouraged by the church. I'm birthed as Aahliyah Phoebe Grace Edwards. And one of the ministers of the church said she shall be called Phoebe, because Phoebe was a psalmist, a singer, not a singer, but she was a psalmist, a minister of the gospel in Romans in the New Testament. Is it the New Testament? Oh Lord, do I need to read my Bible? Yes, it's the New Testament. So it was already placed on my life that you will be a minister. Now, when you hear the word minister, minister could be a preacher or, evangelist. So when I was told that, your godfather called you Phoebe and said that we should call you Phoebe because you're going to be a minister, I was like, I don't want to be a preacher. Little did I know that ministering is also done in song. So I decided that, yes, I will be a minister of song. So that's my summary of allowing myself to still be called Phoebe. But also, I looked into the meaning of Phoebe. It's shining one, moonlight, sunshine, bright one. And I also have a love for Pandora jewelry. So a lot of the relationships that I got into, if they asked me what I wanted, it was Pandora jewelry. And just little things, whether it's a charm or a little ring or a little necklace or whatever. So there's that. Now the Greek mythology of, and this is so weird how this came about within the whole process of doing this album. Greek mythology of Pandora's box is Pandora was given this box and she was told if she opened it, demons would come out. And so I believe that I had my Pandora's box of love. And my Pandora's box of love, when I opened it, I did get a lot of pain. Now, in the Greek mythology, the last thing that was left was hope. And that, for me, when I mirrored it, I've never lost hope. I've never lost belief that things are going to turn out okay. That's why I've chosen that name for the album. And as we delve into the meaning of the journey, the album actually takes you on a journey throughout a very dark stage in my life. And it actually starts off with a conversation with my dad about what the meaning of love is. And I had been brought up to understand the biblical meaning of love and the biblical meaning of what it is to love in a relationship and in a marriage. Mainly a marriage, because they didn't believe in boyfriend and girlfriend. It was like you meet someone, you get married and you settle down. But the belief of what I was taught love should be, even biblically, was not what I got. And I tried my very best to merge what I've been taught with myself as a giving person. So I've been taught to love according to the word of God, as well as adding the giving Phoebe, the, selfless Phoebe, in hope that I would get back the same thing. But I didn't, unfortunately. So the album takes you on this journey of my experience with a guy that I was in a relationship with and ended up marrying him in hope that I would be loved or it would fix things. I saw red flags. You even hear me say in one of the songs, I saw the signs. But I still kept trying because it was like, I can see the red flags, but if I just give more time. I can see the red flags, but if I just marry him. I can see the red flags, but if I just forget about my emotions and keep giving and keep surrendering, eventually it's got to sum up to something, right? Instead, it got worse, and I very quickly went down a path of abuse, and in fact it got to a point where I tried to take my own life, and then I lost a lot of people, a lot of friends and family. And I hit rock bottom. I hit the floor. My face was on the ground. There's another lyric from my songs. My face was literally on the ground. But the hope still remained, and I didn't realise that there was still that little, what do they call it, ember? Is it an ember? When when you burn a flame and then it goes out, but you still got the end of the flame, and there's still that tiny little,
the little red
thing. Yeah, and if you blow it could spark up again. Yeah. That was buried somewhere deep. And I think that was the hope that was still there. But I had to realise that the hope needed to be more for myself than for anyone else. So that is what took me to the end of the album, where I start speaking about whatever it takes and having that determination to pull through any dark period of my life. And it's interesting, like, it sounds cliche, but you never know where you're going to get to. You never know where you're going to get to. No. You never know what you're going to do when you're at rock bottom. It's either you're going to allow yourself to end up in the ground and on the ground, or you're going to pick yourself up and you're going to start pushing upwards. And I got to the point where I nearly gave up, but I'm so glad now, looking back, I would do it all again to feel how I feel now, because I ended up allowing myself to fight, pushing myself to fight, and finding that new fire and the lioness. I had to go through all of that to find my crown. Because now I feel, don't get me wrong, I have my moments where I still go through shit and I'm like, my life, what's going on? But it will never be how it was in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and even 20. So I'm talking as little as 2 years ago. But the way I feel now, I would do them all again. Because now I feel like I'm unstoppable. There are many things that could still happen. We're human. There's still things that could happen. But I decided to take my pain and turn it into my passion and turn it into an album. And I realised that when I did my own thing with Pandora's Box of Love, I realised it was for people who were like me. It's not for everyone. And that's where I had my peace with, that's where I found my peace with trying to do what the industry want, or trying to do what creatives have said is in right now. I found my peace with it because I realised that this message that I have in this album is for people who have been through what I've been through, who feel what I have felt or are feeling it, and to show them that they're not alone. And all they have to do is keep taking another step, or allow themselves to go through the emotions, or relate to the song Waste of Love, where you feel like, I just wasted my time. I did everything and I just wasted my time. I wasted my emotions. What a waste. I never forget one day, I felt like, what a waste. I gave so much of myself for it to end up here. What a waste. It was like I was dashing money out the window. That's what it felt like. Like
the ones,
like literally, it felt like it's so expensive. My love is so expensive. And it was taken and taken for granted, it's a waste. So I wrote Waste of Love, and I felt like that's definitely to show others that I relate to your pain. I relate to you feeling like, why would I do that? Why would I go through that? Why would I allow that to happen to myself? What a waste of my time. What a waste of my emotions. What a waste. But when I do look at it now, as well as a waste of love, it pushed me into Whatever It Takes, which is the song that ends the album, which speaks about picking myself up. There's a part where I say, in broken pieces, I found peace. My broken pieces, while I was on the floor on my bedroom, smoking 20 cigarettes a day, crying my eyes out, losing weight, probably the weight that the A&R team wanted me to lose, and clothes. While I was in that dark space, in the broken pieces, I found my peace, because what I would do is sing to myself. That was what saved me. Not food, not sanity. Singing saved me. When I had no energy to sing, but I would whisper a song under my breath. Anything, any tune, even if it was just humming. I found my peace in what I do now. That's why it doesn't matter if it doesn't, if it's not for certain people in the industry, because I know what this project has done for me. And I also that led me into slowly getting into therapy. So I found my peace in my broken pieces by finding peace in therapy, digging into the parts of me, the young child that was taught certain things that led her to where she was now. If I just give more of myself, I will get it back. I'll be okay. But actually, that's not what happened. But it was understanding that then got me to where I am now. Through therapy, through retraining myself, through it's almost like I had to unlearn years of living in order to understand myself.
We have to continuously unlearn the patterns that are just embedded so deep within our wiring.
Deep in our wiring. So Pandora's Box, what else would you like to know about it?
Honestly, I think you've given us curiosity, which is now, I literally urge people to go and listen to it, because there's 1 and 2 tunes in there that I'm just...
Well, yeah. The aim for Pandora's Box is to make sure people can see and understand that they're not alone if they go through certain things, not just with the relationships, but in life. Things can happen in your life that make you hit rock bottom, and you think, where do I go from here? The only way is up. And it's for you to be relatable, for you to understand that there's been people out there that have gone through these things worse or maybe less, but they've gone through something that's really hurt them. But when you listen towards the end of the album, you realise you will be okay. You're going to come out of it the other end. And you can use your pain and turn it into your passion and create something to help someone else, or just encourage yourself. With this album, I play the album and I don't listen to it like it's me singing. It's an encouragement to myself to keep going, or to remember where I was and remember that I'm not there anymore.
And your album genuinely does that, because there's when I listen to Whatever It Takes, right? When I listen to Whatever It Takes, I feel like I've just watched Tony Robbins doing like the maddest speech of his life.
Yeah.
And I'll just belt it out. I'll belt it out in the house, and I feel so good for it after. Like, yeah. To be fair, and also another thing is the fact that you have stayed true to it being a journey from first song to last song, and not cutting it, because a lot of music nowadays is very like chippy choppy. This one, you listen to the whole thing like it's one track. From number 1 to number 12?
Number 13.
Number 13.
Yeah. Well, 12's and then the 13's the bonus, yeah.
Yeah. So
She know, you know.
Yeah.
She know the album.
Because I go through the whole thing literally as if it's one song. Like, I love it. Because it really does take you through a journey, and that, like, I thank you for putting that out there, because I know how difficult going through that pain to be able to produce such a body of work. Like, that pain was fuckery.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I saw it, right?
Well, that's the thing. And I think that's what it is. It's what I find, especially with my closest friends, like yourself, Rosh, Paul, Lorraine, like, you brought me food when I wasn't eating. You're like, you need to eat this. You need to put something in your body. Like, the people that get it, when they say they get it. Because I can sit here and talk to you guys or talk to the camera, whoever's watching or listening, and they'll be like, oh, is it? Oh. But when someone has literally watched me, you did my lashes before my wedding. The day before my wedding.
The day before your wedding, yeah.
Like, you watched me deteriorate before your eyes. Yeah. You watched me crying on the floor, like, not knowing what was happening with my life. You watched me shaking and breaking down. So you see and hear the journey in the album. But what is so strange is I didn't know that I would need this at this time. I started creating this album before I even went through that mad trauma. Hence why so many songs, the creative process for creatives is so mad. You can have ideas upon ideas upon ideas, and they get scrapped, and then they come back in, and then you're like, oh, but I remember this. Actually, no, that's not for now. Like, the amount of things that changed within the process of this album. There's even songs that weren't included, and it's like, and so many artists do that. They have folders and folders of songs, completed songs, but that just don't make it. Now make it. And it's amazing. There's even things in there about, like, even Get It Right. Although it's featuring Mark Asari, and this new version features Mark Asari and Alexander Jackman, it's...
Oh yeah, I love what you've done to that, to be fair.
I changed it up a little bit in it. That wasn't even written about a relationship. That was written about, in my process of all the trauma, that was actually written about someone who tried to manage me.
Oh.
So I was saying, I'm giving you my hand, but can you hold it tight? I wasn't sure if they were right for me. So while I was going through this process of all this trauma with my relationship, my marriage or whatever, there was someone who was saying, let me manage you. And I was like, I was torn, you know. I'll give you more of my time, but will you spend it right? I'd ignore my logic, which is, but this, but that's happened. But will you prove me wrong? What I'm asking is, will you take control? That is literally Get It Right. But it was so, like, I just loved the people that I worked with. It was so well done that you could also relate it to a relationship, which is why... Oh. Was this scratching?
My bad, that was me.
You can mute that bit, don't it? Yeah, the reason... Yeah, I'm really happy with the creatives that are involved in that, because it's quite clever, because you can also relate it to a relationship, hence getting Mark involved. But it was actually written about a guy who tried to manage me. And I was like, I'm scared.
You're not it.
Yeah, you're not it.
My gut's telling me.
My gut's telling me. But out of it was born this concept that can be related to so many different things in people's life.
Yeah, so many different things. I mean, honestly, Phoebe, I want to carry on. I want to carry on because there's so much deeper things that I kind of want to touch on. But what I also want to actually know before I even stop this, the fact that during all that trauma, right, and going through all kinds of stuff, right, you still carried on working, and you still carried on producing, and you still carried on being consistent when it came to monetizing your creativity, which I think is outstanding. Because what generally happens with creators is that you kind of feel a kind of detrimental feeling, and you end up going into your shell and staying in that shell and not coming out. And whatever it takes is the testimony of you saying, do you know what? Every single time with courage, I'm just going to step forward. I'm just going to keep stepping forward. Whatever that seems like, whatever that looks like, I'm just going to keep going.
Keep going. I won't stop until I find a way. I'm so much more than my shattered dreams. In broken pieces, I found peace. I faced my pain to set me free. The only way I was going to be able to keep going was by facing and dealing with what I was going through, and then using the strongest part of my life, which was my singing. For me, as long as I could sing, I'm all right. Like I said, I was on my face and I'd be able to sing. So I found the little ember, whatever it's called, the little spark, and I stuck to that. There's something there. Oh, it's my singing. So use that. If you don't know what you're going to do tomorrow and you know you're going to sing, and that's all you got to look forward to, do that. There's so much I could say. There's so much that is bringing up. I don't even know if we have the time for it. But all I knew was that singing was keeping me going. And to this day, I look back and I'm like, if I couldn't sing, what would the story be? What would the outcome be?
That's a whole
new...
That is a whole different topic, because just imagine, like, I think that of myself sometimes as well. I'm like, if I wasn't an entrepreneur, if I wasn't continuously building businesses, what would I be doing?
What would I be doing? And this is the
still
thing.
accounting,
babe, sitting there on the adding machine, and I can't.
Nuh-uh.
But I look back at it and I'm grateful for my talent, because this is then, I learnt that from church, the same place where I felt like I was a bit confused. The one thing that it gave me that I will hold on to is church. And if you, in the album, you'll hear that there's a little ring of a Hammond that continues throughout the whole thing, and all the little interludes and the little conversations into the intros of the songs. Throughout the songs, you'll hear a Hammond. And that was my ode to the church. Like, it broke me. That's not what I got, Dad. That's what you taught me the Bible said I would get, but I didn't get it. It broke me, but it still carried me through to the end. So whatever it takes still has that church sound, that feel. And for that, I'm grateful. And I understand that it was just part of my journey to not quite have everything that I needed from that same place, but have everything that I needed from that same place. And it carried me through. You know, I just think that being creative has so many walls, has so many stumbling blocks, has so many things that can just not go your way. But you also, because you're creative, you can always find another way. And that's what I've learned. Being a creative and being let down by everything that was going on around me, it made me tap even deeper into my creative side to produce this album, which now it's created for people like me. Whether you're creative and you're like, oh, I'm fed up of this, things aren't going going right, you're going to say whatever it takes. Or for people who are going through situations in their life that are like, I feel like I'm face down, nothing's going right, no relationship's working for me. So you're going to be all right. I'm living proof that you're going to be all right. And guess what? You might hit those walls again. I might go through something else. But because I know that where I've been, I can confidently say that I will always be okay. As long as you allow yourself to feel, as long as you allow yourself to go through those processes, you will end up okay. I'm living proof of that.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm going to stop there, because one thing I want to say is that I want to do a little plug for you. My Voice, Your Voice is your vocal coaching company.
Yeah.
And there was a time period in COVID when obviously all the gigs and stuff shut down, and there was no income coming in. And as a creative, it was a really difficult period for a lot of people. because the way you know how to make money stopped. So you had to become a little bit creative with it. And we done I remember going through a few day process to kind of sit with your ideas about how you can monetize your creativity without actually doing what you would normally do, as in singing gigs and going on tours and selling out arenas.
Right. True.
And we ended up coining a concept, or you ended up coining a concept called My Voice, Your Voice, and essentially using your power and using your talent and using who you are as a human to coach other creatives that want to be able to monetize, and other creatives that want to be able to do what you do and sing the way that you sing, right? With with every single last detail, from the way that you're feeling to the way that you hold your posture and you belt out and all of the things. And you started that business officially in 2020, right?
No, I actually started that business officially in...
You rebranded in 2020.
I rebranded in 2020,
yeah, I remember, because you were actually doing it for a number of years prior to that.
Yeah, but on and off, it was like as and when I wasn't on the road, I'd do vocal training, but it got peak in 2020. It was like, okay, you need to do something with this thing because it's there.
Yeah.
So what's this Zoom thing? Okay, cool. That's what we're going to use. Come. Everyone come.
Literally. So I really wanna shine a light on My Voice, Your Voice, because I think you do amazing things for up and coming artists and also established artists that still need to train their vocals. So that's something that I urge any singer, any rapper, anybody that's trying to become a musician that really wants to understand the art form of music and really understand the technical forms of music. You need to be hitting up Phoebe Edwards. I mean, I'm not too sure if she's going to have a lot of time after this debut album. However...
I'll make time, I'll make time.
Yeah, I think just wanted to shine a light on that because you do amazing things with that. And I want to say a massive, massive thank you for coming down today.
Thank you for having me.
You are always my breath of fresh air. You're always my light, like always there when I need you. And I appreciate you for that all the time. But I really, really enjoyed this conversation. And I think there's some valuable things that you have said in here for every bloody creative, but also for just women, for women in general that feel like they have a power inside them that they haven't yet been able to let loose. Like, you are that testimony.
I'm a living witness, and no matter what, whatever it takes, keep going, keep moving on.
I love you.
I love you more.
Thank you very much.
You was just listening to the Promisingpreneur podcast. I am Aahliyah Amerat, and thank you so much for listening all the way through. Don't forget to click subscribe and share to at least one person, because that's the only thing that's going to fuel us to carry on.